There's an echo in the canyon, a reflection on the sound. When I'm really looking, I can hear you all around.
Welcome. Happy to see you back to watch Art of Poetry number 37. Wow. And thanks, Mike, for that opening song. So heartfelt, so nostalgic in a way. So I'm Frank Crowley. I'm glad to have all of you here. Karima Robinson can't be with us today, but she's here in spirit. Dear Karima, who's been on some earlier shows. So, welcome. Come on in. I've got a big celebration for you. Yeah. We're going to start with the Tuskegee Airmen because today is Juneteenth, and boy, oh boy, that's a holiday, and it should be. Yep, the Clinton Library's closed, as it should be, and I hope the kiddos are watching at home because this is an American culture show as well as poetry. I've got two main poets for you, and we'll get into them soon, but let's call up the Tuskegee Airmen and what's been happening. A good thing at the state level, the House of Representatives in Connecticut passed a possibility of a memorial permanently with the Air and Space Museum in Connecticut for the Tuskegee Airmen. Tammy Exum, the representative from Avon and West Hartford, the granddaughter of the serviceman, Mr. Exum, who worked really hard toward memorializing the Tuskegee Airmen. And here we have the book, Tuskegee Airmen, An Illustrated History, 39 to 49. And of course, they're behind me. Red Tails was a nickname given to the Tuskegee Airmen during their time in service during World War II. It evolved from the bomber pilots referring to their Tuskegee Airmen fighter escorts as Red Tail Angels because of their reputation and record for keeping the bombers safe on their dangerous missions over enemy territory. It's been a long time coming, the Tuskegee Airmen story, fully appreciated, fully integrated into our history of the war, World War II, and also fully integrated into the culture and the stories of the fighting men of World War II. So, it's fitting, and here we are in Connecticut, and we're celebrating the Tuskegee Airmen. So I have another slide coming up about the Tuskegee Airmen, and we're gonna pull that up and see what we can, over the course of World War II, the Tuskegee Airmen flew 1,578 missions and 15,533 sorties, destroyed 261 enemy aircraft and won more than 850 medals. Wow, that's a record. That's a beautiful thing to record and to celebrate. And Tammy Exum tells me through her aide in the office in the legislature that they're going back to the legislature next year to hope it passes the Senate as well. Pass the House, it's going to pass the Senate next year, and we'll be out there stomping for it. So that's a big part of our history integrated. I've got a couple of beautiful paintings here. One is by Pétion Savin, and he is the father of Haitian painting. I happened to bought it, actually, in my guest house in 1965. And let's see, there we go. And I was struck by the colors, just overwhelmed with the beauty of those colors. Now, this is not so much a street scene as a mountain scene, because Haiti is just full of mountains. And of course, coffee, trees, fruit, probably mangoes right there in the basket. But this is definitely a rural mountain scene. I've been there, Kenskoff, 8,000 feet, hanging over Port-au-Prince. And Pétion Savin came to the little guest house, a wizened man, tall, 6'6", very thin, and I bought the painting from him. Didn't have the money. So I said to the guest house, Madame Olam, may I send you a check? What did I have? What did I know at age 23, my first trip to Haiti? But I came back with a painting under my arm. And I'm hoping that someday things settle down in Haiti enough so that I can return this painting to the Haitian Health Foundation, where I was a board member for 25 years. They're based in Norwich, and they would be delighted to have this hang in the entrance, no question. The father of Haitian painting, Pétion Savin, and of course, he's named after a war hero, Pétion. Wow, Haitian history. Our first poem starts with that too, but I wanted to also point out, over my head is a wonderful, colorful jungle shot, which is really more an Africanized version of the imagination of Haiti. So up there is some more color, and it's just very, very, very iridescent in the light. Our lighting is a little difficult to see right now, but it is definitely a jungle scene. And don't you see those eyes of the panther there? There you go. Wow, look at that. So the memory of the homelands in West Africa, Dahomey, where they filmed that wonderful version of Graham Greene's The Comedians about the politics of Haiti. Yeah, and of course the slave trade. Thank you, Mike, that's good. Now, just a plug. I just finished Becoming, Michelle Obama's book, and it's very moving. It's about childhood. South Side, Chicago. It's called Becoming, and I recommend it highly. It's about the archetypal migration north in the 20s and 30s in terms of the history of families, of course, coming up from the slavery South that is also got a lot of context in terms of the history of the Great Migration. And then, of course, her current story, which is very, very interesting. Again, from the First Lady's point of view, and from the bedroom and the dining room, rather than the Oval Office. I loved it. I recommend it. So, we have here The Poetry of Black America, Anthology of the 20th Century. And it is pretty much confined to the 20th century, and the poets are varied, as you would imagine, as all our white poets of the 20th century, European and American. But this focuses also on the history and the riveting narratives of the slave trade. I'm going to start there and go back to Haiti, because isn't it something? This one, Black Majesty. Way to go. This is County Cullen, and he is one of our most noted Harlem Renaissance poets, contemporary of Langston Hughes, who we'll talk to later. But Black Majesty is written as a sonnet. Imagine that. These men were kings, albeit they were black. Christophe, Dessalines, Louverture, their majesty has made me turn my back upon a pliant who I once shaped to endure. These men were black, I say, but they were crowned and purple-clad. However brief their time, stifle your agony, let grief be drowned. We know joy, and had a day once and a clime. Dark gutter snipe, black sprawler in the mind, a thing men did, a man may do again. What answers filter through your sluggish blood to these dark ghosts who knew so bright a reign? Quote, lo, I am dark, but comely, end quote. Sheba sings, quote, and we were black. Three shades reply, but kings. Yes, they were. I went to the Citadel after the Haitian Revolution of 1805, first Black Republic. Let's face it, and the French weren't happy. Certainly the plantation owners ran for their lives. And Christophe built this fortress north next to Cape Haitian. And it was so wonderful to visit on the back of a donkey. So I'm feeling it again, wishing I could go back, sending prayers for Haiti right now because of the gang infiltration all the way out to Jérémie, where our Haitian health clinic is still running. But as you know from the news, it'll be a while before stability returns. County Cullen, quite the traditional poet in traditional forms. You see, a sonnet is 8 and 4. That is 8 lines, and then 6. I was thinking of the Shakespearean sonnet, which is 4, 4, 4, and 2. That makes 14. That's what a sonnet is, okay? So the craft is well known by the Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance poets for sure. And then they poke fun at each other and themselves. Giles Johnson, PhD. That's the title of the poem, so it's about this cat. Giles Johnson had 4 college degrees, knew the why-for of this, the wherefore of that, could orate in Latin or cuss in Greek. And having learned such things, he died of starvation because he wouldn't teach and he couldn't porter, as in the porters on the train. Overeducated, but then again, racial oppression hits. As President Obama used to say, try standing out on Fifth Avenue and hailing a taxi. Another poking of fun at themselves and each other. Robert Whitmore, having attained success in business, possessing 3 cars, the wife and 2 mistresses, a home and furniture, talked of by the town, and thrice ruler of the local Elks, Robert Whitmore died of apoplexy when a stranger from Georgia mistook him for a former Macon waiter. Puffed up, deflated. There are hundreds and hundreds of these poets, African American, 20th century, who are chronicling the time and the place where they're writing. So, how many of you remember the Detroit riots of 1943? Wow, we're not talking 64, we're talking 43. That's in the middle of the war. Detroit Riot, 1943. Title of the poem, Mr. Roosevelt Regrets. Upon reading a newspaper's account of Mr. Roosevelt's statement on the recent race clashes, I share your feeling, quote, that the recent outbreaks of violence in widely spread parts of the country endanger our national unity and comfort our enemies. I'm sure that every true American regrets this. I'm sure, end quote, that Mr. Roosevelt in his grave is regretting this quote. The poem says, "What'd you get, black boy, when they knocked you down in the gutter and kicked your teeth out, and they broke your skull with clubs and they bashed your stomach in? What'd you get when the police shot you in the back and they chained you to the beds while they wiped the blood off? What'd you get when you cried out to the top man? When you called on the man next to God, so you thought, and so you asked him to speak out to save you. What's the top man say, black boy?" Quote, Mr. Roosevelt regrets. I'm sure he regrets a few other things, like turning those ships escaping the Nazi death camps with shiploads of Jewish people who had come hoping for salvation and safety. Mr. Roosevelt turned them around and sent them back. So, Harlem Riot 43. Not by hammering the furious word, nor bread stamped in the streets, nor milk emptied in the gutter, shall we gain the gates of the city. But I am a prophet without eyes to see. I do not know how we shall gain the gates of the city. August 43. Well, they did in 1964, didn't they? My favorite poem and poet is definitely Robert Hayden. Now, he is of that generation, born 1913, and a poem often anthologized, and it's just so heart-wrenching about family, father, and memories. At my age, 82, how I wish I could do it over again with my dad. Well, Robert Hayden, born 1913, wrote, "Those winter Sundays. Sundays too," my favorite poem of the African American diaspora from all the countries with black poets. Robert Hayden, my favorite poet, 20th century, my favorite poem. Those winter Sundays. Sundays, too. My father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made bank fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well, what did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? Wow, oh Dad, you got up early Sundays too and banked those fires so it wouldn't be so cold for us coming out of the bedroom. Oh, and you polished our shoes. And we spoke indifferently to you. Yeah, gratitude for a parent. That's a thorn right here, unexpressed. And then the real depth of the experience of the slave ships, the Middle Passage. These are the names of the slave ships that came. Jesus, Estrella, Esperanza, Merci, and there are two voices. The voice of the crew and the voice of the captured slave already in chains below deck. So, here's the narrator of the crew. Sails flashing in the wind like weapons, sharks following the moans, the fever and the dying, horror, the corposant and compass rose. Middle Passage, voyage through death to life upon these shores. He continues. 10th April 1800. Blacks rebellious, crew uneasy. Our linguist says their moaning is a prayer for death. Ours and their own. Some try to starve themselves. Lost 3 this morning. Leaped with crazy laughter to the waiting sharks. Sang as they went under. Next 4 ships were named Desire, Adventure, Tartar, and Anne. Standing to America, bringing home black gold, black ivory, black seed. Deep in the fettering hold thy father lies, of his bones New England pews are made, those are altar lights that were his eyes. Jesus, Savior, pilot me over life's tempestuous sea. We pray that thou wilt grant, O Lord, safe passage to our vessels, bringing heathen souls unto thy chastening. Haven't even gotten to the slave voice in the hold. I'll open with that one after our break.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
It was kind of the storm of the century, or the 500-year flood or storm that, by some estimates, over 15 inches of rain fell over a 3-day period on June 4th, 5th, and 6th, 1982.
What is pickleball? The sport that has captivated millions with its combination of tennis, badminton, and ping pong can be played 1-on-1 or 2-on-2.
Hi, thanks for joining me. This is September Selectmen's Update.
Hello everyone, Carl Fortuna here again with another monthly update.
Good morning, everyone. Today's the Town Council regular meeting, Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 8 a.m., Town Hall Green Room.
Tom and Rick had a part of that.
Cool, no buttons to push. How wonderful. I'm Frank Crowley. I'm back. Thank you, Anne Marie. You're magical. Yeah, got your license back? I hope so. Okay, I'm going to pick up now on that slave ship. The Desire, on its way from Dahomey in West Africa and Senegal, where they captured about 130 slaves and put them in the hold in chains, spoon fashion. No room to move, no room to breathe practically, and very little food. Here is the voice of the person captured in the hold. 8 bells! I cannot sleep, for I am sick with fear. But writing eases fear a little, since still my eyes can see these words take shape upon the page, and so I write, as one would turn to exorcism. 4 days scudding, but now the sea is calm again. Misfortune follows in our wake, like sharks, our grinning tutelary gods. Which one of us has killed an albatross? A plague among our blacks, ophthalmia, blindness, and we have jettisoned the blind to no avail. It spreads, the terrifying sickness spreads. Its claws have scratched sight from the captain's eyes, and there is blindness in the forecastle, and we must sail 3 weeks before we come to port. Wow. An imagined, but also very realistic depiction of the illness, the sickness that spreads like wildfire on a ship, 3 weeks becalmed at sea. What port awaits us, Davy Jones, or home? I've heard of slavers drifting, playthings of wind and storm and chance, their crews gone blind, the jungle hatred crawling up the deck, and we know what that's all about. We know that the Amistad rebelled, and you know that history. making a transition to Langston Hughes. Our actually poet laureate, as most of his contemporaries, and now history says poet laureate of the Harlem Renaissance. Yeah. Some of these are recorded. You would love his voice. It's in the libraries. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. That's pretty much his signature opening poem. What a voice. What a wonderful career. Playwright, lyricist for opera. Everything in the arts under the sun. And prolific, truly prolific. The book's full, and it's 1,000 pages. I, too, sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when the company comes. Nobody'll dare to say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Absolutely. I too am America. Poem for a winter night. You can't sleep here, my good man. You can't sleep here. This is the house of God. The usher opens the church door and he goes out. You can't sleep in this car, old top. Not here. If Jones found you, he'd give you the cops. Get the hell out now. This ain't home. You can't stay here. The chauffeur opens the door and he gets out. Lord, you can't let a man lie in the streets like this. Find an officer quick. Send for an ambulance. Maybe he is sick, but he can't die on this corner. Not here. He can't die here. Death opens the door. Oh God, let me get by St. Peter. Let me get down on the steps of your throne. Let me rest somewhere. What did you say, God? What did you say? You can't sleep here. Bums can't stay. The man's raving. Get him to the hospital quick. He's attracting a crowd. He can't die on this corner. No, not here. Hungry child, I didn't make this world for you. You didn't buy any stock in my railroad. You didn't invent or invest in my corporation. Where are your shares in Standard Oil? I made the world for the rich and the will be rich, and you have always been rich. Not for you, hungry child. And then the diaspora. And then the poets decided, wait a minute, this isn't living. Hey, America, goodbye. James Baldwin. Oh, Dudley Randall. Whoa. Many black poets. Bessie Smith, songstress. Off to Paris. Park benching. I've sat on the park benches in Paris, hungry. I've sat on the park benches in New York, hungry. And I've said, I want a job, I want work. And I've been told there are no jobs, there is no work. So I've sat on park benches, hungry, midwinter, hungry days, no jobs, no work. Now, the blues, the blues. The blues are poetry. The blues music, with a snap of a finger and a pluck of a string, made a revolution in music. Yeah, they called it jazz. And the black contribution is all that. Jazz. All that jazz. Yeah, we keep echoing it. The weary blues. Droning a drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon. I heard a Negro play down on Lenox Avenue the other night by the pale, dull pallor of an old gas light. He did a lazy sway, to the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with a melody. Oh, blues swaying to and fro on his rickety stool. And on and on and on, punctuated by his wonderful contributions with collaborators. Oh, yeah. Doing all kinds of artistic creativity. Dream Boogie. Good morning, Daddy. Ain't you heard the boogie-woogie rumble of a dream deferred? Listen closely, you'll hear their feet beating out and beating out a... You think it's a happy beat? Listen to it closely, ain't you heard something underneath like a... What did I say? Sure, I'm happy. Take it away. Hey, bebop, rebop, mop, yeah. This is my second favorite poem. And it's got such a rhythm to it and such life. And pardon me while I pull up my stand, which is giving me the hardest time ever. Oh, better. Ballad of the Landlord. Landlord, my roof has sprung a leak. Don't you remember I told you about it way last week? Landlord, these steps is broken down. When you come up yourself, it's a wonder you don't fall down. $10 you say I owe you? $10 you say is due? Well, that's $10 more than I'll pay you till you fix this house up new. What? You're gonna get eviction orders? You're gonna cut off my heat? You're gonna take my furniture and throw it in the street? You talking high and mighty, talk on till you get through. You ain't gonna be able to say a word if I land my fist on you. Police, come and get this man. He's trying to ruin the government and overturn the land. Whew. Copper's whistle. Patrol bell. Arrest. Precinct station, iron cell, headlines in press. Man threatens landlord, tenant held, no bail. Judge gives Negro 90 days in county jail. And on and on. The other poem, frequently anthologized, and is so really widely read and popular that I think sometimes it's the only selection put in an anthology. Theme for English B. I'm a former English teacher, pretty much my whole life, 20 years at Gateway. Loved teaching literature and composition. And we did themes, you remember from high school. Lots of themes. Theme for English B. The instructor said, go home and write a page tonight and let that page come out of you, then it will be true. I wonder if it's that simple. I am 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here to this college on the hill above Harlem. I am the only colored student in my class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem through a park. Then I cross St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem Branch Y, where I take the elevator up to my room, sit down, and write this page. It's not easy to know what is true for you or me at 22, my age, but I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear. Harlem, I hear you. Hear you, hear me, we two, you, me, talk on this page. I hear New York too. Me, who? Well, I like to eat, sleep, drink, and be in love. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present or records, Bessie, Bop, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like who are other races. So will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be a part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me, as I am a part of you. That's American. Sometimes perhaps you don't want to be a part of me, nor do I often want to be a part of you, but we are, that's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me, although you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B. And I cannot miss out, with passing over Gwendolyn Brooks. Actually, she's so strong a poet, going back through the Harlem Renaissance. My favorite poem to read is the one she wrote with a syncopation that is just so fantastic. It's called We Real Cool. It's the pool players, 7 at the Golden Shovel, probably a local bar. We real cool, we left school, we lurk late, we strike straight, we sing sin, we thin gin, we jazz June, we die soon. Musical, truly. Bronzeville man with a belt in his back. In such an armor he may rise and raid the dark cave after midnight unafraid, and slice the shadows with his able sword of good broad nonchalance, hashing them down, and come out and accept the gasping crowd, shake off the praises with his airiness, and searching see love shining in an eye but never smile. In such an armor he cannot be slain. Oh, this is starting to rock. Like me, swaying back and forth. Here we go. Yeah. Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Blackstone Rangers, gang girls. She's covered the waterfront. 1957, fall, Little Rock. Definitely in the collective memory, isn't it? The Chicago Defender, that's the name of the newspaper, the Chicago newspaper, sends a man to Little Rock, sends a reporter to find out what's going on down there. In Little Rock, the people bear babes and comb and part their hair and watch the want ads, put repair to roof and latch. While wheat toast burns, a woman waters multi-ferns. Time upholds or overturns the many tight and small concerns. In Little Rock, the people sing Sunday hymns. Like anything, through Sunday pomp and polishing, and after testament and tunes, some soften Sunday afternoons with lemon tea and Lorna Doones. I forecast, and I believe come Christmas, Little Rock will cleave to Christmas trees and trifle, weave from laugh and tinsel, texture fast. In Little Rock is baseball, barcarolle. There is love too in Little Rock, soft women softly opening themselves in kindness. In Little Rock, what they know, not answering the telephone is a way of rejecting life. I scratch my head, massage the hate I had. I blink across my prim and pencil pad. The angry editor would reply in 100 herrings of why. And true, they are hurling spittle, rock, garbage, and fruit in Little Rock. And I saw coiling storm a writhe on bright Madonnas, and a scythe of men harassing brownish girls. The bows and barrettes and the curls, the braids declined away from joy. I saw a bleeding brownish boy. The lariat lynch wish I deplored. The loveliest lynchee was our Lord. And that's a little history, which you probably could brush up on. Gwendolyn Brooks, 1917. I stayed in the front yard all my life. I want to peek in the back, where it's rough and untended and hungry weed grows. A girl gets sick of a rose. What's really wonderful to notice is that they all have rhythm. Yeah. And lots of the poets in the 20th century keep with the rhyme. Very few, of course, will write sonnets after the revolution of free verse, which was a really good thing. But as the decades go on, we got some pretty wild stuff going on now with hip-hop. And jazz is following along, of course. There are some pretty revolutionary poets from the 70s on, after the 60s, Sonia Sanchez. The wife, who was also a poet, her famous husband too. Poem at 30. It is midnight, no magical bewitching hour for me. I know only that I am here waiting, remembering that once as a child I walked 2 miles in my sleep. Did I know then where I was going, traveling? I'm always traveling. I want to tell you about me, about nights on a brown couch when I wrapped my bones in lint and refused to move. No one touches me anymore. Father, do not send me out among strangers. You black man, stretching, scraping the mold from your body. Here is my hand. I am not afraid of the night. So, the 20th century was a revolution in the form of poetry too, which was exciting to think about. And then, did it go off the tracks? I don't know. You judge. Riots and rituals. You refuse to see out eyes huge as planets, heavy with eternal winks, the cliffs in the distance, the last Friday. And then we got down to imagery. Imagery. Here's a good one. I was spending 2 days in the backyard in the chair with these two books, and thankfully not this stand which keeps going down and down. There we go. In Texas Grass by Quincy Troop. All along the railroad tracks of Texas, old train cars lay rusted and overturned like new African governments long forgotten by the people who built and rode them. Till they couldn't run no more, they remind me of old racehorses who've been put out to pasture among the weeds, rain, sleet, and snow till they die right away, like photos fading in Grandma's picture book of old black men in Mississippi, Texas, who sit on dilapidated porches that fall away like dead man's skin. Like white people's eyes, and on the peeling photos, old men sit sad-eyed, waiting for worm dust, thinking of the master and his long-forgotten promise. Oh, yeah. Of 40 acres and a mule. And even now, if you pass across this bleeding flesh, ever-changing landscape, you will see the fruited countryside, stretching, old black men and young black men sitting on porches, waiting for rusted trains in Texas grass. Ah, wow, we are winding down. And I'm losing my voice too. So, in the last 30 seconds, I'd like to say, I love the patois. I love the music. And I love the beat. And I started with Phyllis Wheatley, who's, believe it or not, the first published female African-American poet. Let's call it 1763. Can you believe? And George Washington knocked at her door to visit her. She was that famous. Wonderful. Oh, Phyllis Wheatley, homage to you. So we're going to maybe, hopefully, someday end with some drums. Thank you for joining me. Whoa, yeah.
remember there is love for you in every note I play. There's an echo in the canyon, a reflection on the sound